Hey there, lady. I'm Molly Conley, your coach and hype woman on this journey to transforming your love life. Whether you're navigating life after divorce, exploring the world of online dating, or deepening the connection in your committed relationship, I'm here for you. Why me? Because I walked this path myself, from filing for divorce just 3 years into marriage to swimming in the online dating pool into my late 30s, and finally marrying the man of my spreadsheet dreams right before the world changed forever. I've seen it all. As a relationship coach, I empower women to create love lives filled with clarity, connection, and confidence. This podcast is all about building a strong foundation for a healthy relationship with yourself and your future partner. I believe the man of your spreadsheet dreams is worth the wait, and together we'll ensure that you are ready for him when he arrives. Join me each week as we dive into insightful discussions and hear from savvy guests. You'll gain the courage to break free from limiting beliefs, recognize and change patterns that are holding you back, and learn to prioritize the number one relationship in your life, the one you have with yourself. So let's embark on this exciting journey together. Welcome to Reinventing the Arena. Hey there, lady. Welcome back to the podcast. I have really enjoyed my summer so far, and the short break from the podcast actually ended up becoming a short summer sabbatical for the entire month of June. That was not planned whatsoever. But it really gave me the space to fully enjoy a few extra things going on in my life. Because of that, it actually shifted a few other things within my business, and that's why I'm having a short summer series on the podcast. So for the next 8 weeks, podcast episodes are going to range between 10 to 15 minutes on a variety of topics that have either come up with my clients, from women within the Man of Your Spreadsheet Dreams course, and even things that happened while I was on my short summer sabbatical. But before we get started, there's a few things I want to share. If you have a topic you want to discuss on the podcast, there's a form on my website for that. If there's a certain person that you think would make a great guest on the podcast, there is a form on my website for that. If you want to be coached on the podcast anonymously, there is a form for that. I'll include all the links within the show notes for you to take advantage of any of those. Also, if the podcast has helped you in any way, shape, or form, go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. I'll be selecting reviews to read on upcoming podcast episodes for the rest of the year. And if yours is selected, you are going to win a free energetic assessment reading. The research-backed assessment can only be given by certified coaches who attended IPEC, which is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and it provides insights into how you show up in various aspects of your life. It produces a tangible result, giving you awareness about who you are and your level of engagement in the world. You will also be able to see your energetic reaction to stress so that you can recognize and, if you choose, consciously modify that response utilizing the 7 levels of energy. This assessment has been featured on Forbes as a top assessment for leaders and executives. After you take the assessment, I will receive your results to review. Once I've been able to do a debrief on your results, I'll notify you, and then we will schedule a 60-minute call where we will go over it together. Soon I'll have more information about the assessment on my website, and we'll include a link in the show notes for upcoming episodes. Now, if you haven't listened to episode 101, Law of Attraction, What to Use Instead of Love, I actually recommend that you listen to that one first before finishing this episode so that you can get a full picture of what I'm discussing today. Otherwise, if you can, pull out a notebook if you want to take notes and get yourself comfortable because I'm going to have us go through an exercise. So if you're running or if you're at work or, just driving, listen along. You don't need to do this exercise at this moment. So if you can, get comfortable, whether that's laying down or sitting in a chair. I'm going to give you a few moments to do that. We are going to start with a box breathing exercise where we will use the count of 4. You're going to do that by breathing in through your nose to the count of 4, holding for 4, and then breathing out through your mouth for 4, and then holding it again at the end of the breath for 4. We're going to do that 3 times. So I'm going to let you get ready for this. Okay, breathe in through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in through your nose 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Return to your normal breathing. I'm going to give you a moment to get into that flow. Okay, now that you have focused on your breath, I want you to think of the, most recent time you were your authentic self. Were you alone, or were you with a friend? Were you with a family member? What were you doing? Recall that memory and put it top of mind. Replay it for yourself briefly. I'll give you a moment to do that so you can replay it, hold it in that space for yourself. I want you to notice your body sensations coming up. Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel expansive? Do you feel strong and grounded in a sense? Notice those sensations in your body and expand on how they feel for you. Name those sensations. And maybe you already had a name for them, but didn't recognize where they were in your body. So, if needed, hold space in order to determine what emotions are coming up as you notice those body sensations. If you start to lose it, go back to the memory of when you felt authentic to recall those body sensations and those emotions. Most of the time, when I work with my clients and we talk about authenticity, we work through this process. And what they end up telling me is that they usually feel a sense of calm, safety, or even neutrality. All of this is normal and is extremely helpful in allowing you to see where your authenticity shines bright. So I'm curious, when was the last time you felt authentic? When you were dating someone, or when you were in a relationship, or even on that first date? If that brought up like feelings of anxiety or fear, know that that is also completely normal. What would the memory look like if you were able to be your authentic self when you were in a relationship or when you were on a first date? What would that feel like? You'd feel safe. You'd feel like you were being seen for who you are. You'd feel like you were being heard, that your opinion, your voice, your experiences matter. When you can show up as your authentic self in your relationship, you become more stable, grounded, safe, and joyful because the judgment, the anxiety, and the fear isn't dominant. If you listen to that previous podcast episode, like I had mentioned earlier, I had shared the frequency of emotions. Our heart has a frequency that radiates out to 3 feet from our bodies. So if you extend your arms out to the side of you, that's about 3 feet. That's how far your heart's energy field can radiate its emotional frequency. But did you know the frequency of love is 528 hertz? And a recent study this year found out authenticity to be 400 times higher than love. So the more authentic you can be, not only affects your vibration and your energy, it impacts the people around you. Your authenticity has ripple effects. If you ever had someone say, "Oh, I just feel so safe when I'm with you," or "You make me feel so at ease," or maybe it's, "When I'm with you, I can just be myself." Those statements show that a person is feeling that connection of authenticity with you. And the more you show up as your authentic self, it allows other people around you to show up authentically as well. This is why doing the inner work and allowing yourself to be yourself, even when dating, is important. You're not faking it till you make it. You're not pretending to be someone just because you think that's what they want. And I'm not talking about the "this is who I am, take it or leave it" either. With authenticity, there's courage of knowing you're doing your best you can with what you have in the moment while still holding space for others. The queen of authenticity and vulnerability, the great Dr. Brene Brown, has a wonderful quote from her book called The Gifts of Imperfection. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. The quote is, "Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Choosing authenticity means cultivating the courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, exercising the compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle, and nurturing the connection and sense of belonging that can only happen when we believe that we are enough. Authenticity demands wholehearted living and loving, even when it's hard, even when we're wrestling with the shame and fear of not being good enough, and especially when the joy is so intense that we're afraid to let ourselves feel it. Mindfully practicing authenticity during our most soul searching struggles is how we invite grace, joy, and gratitude into our lives." End quote. So you might be thinking, how can I do this when I'm on a first date? Or with my partner when I don't feel seen? Or how can I access more authenticity within myself? Every single person listening to this episode is at a different level of showing up as their full self day in and day out, and in different areas of their lives. So, no, it's easier for us to show up as ourselves when we are alone than it is maybe at work or showing up in a relationship. Do understand and notice those differences or fluctuations. Second, this is going to take time. I do not suggest ripping off the band aid and doing the thing that I said earlier of saying, "This is who I am, take it or leave it," because that energetically doesn't align with being wholeheartedly you. The take it or leave it plays into self entitlement and a victim mindset. So instead, try this method. Recall that authentic moment we brought up in the beginning. Write it down. Who were you with? What were you doing? How were you feeling? What emotions were coming up? What body sensations did you have? And even think about, how long did it last? Meaning, how long did you feel this way after that moment ended? Now, if you can't answer all these questions, maybe your homework is to have more awareness of that next authentic moment that you have, and then go back through these questions. Next, I want you to write down the most important relationships in your life right now. Whether that's maybe your parents, your best friend, maybe it's a coworker you're really getting along with. Maybe you already have a partner. Whoever these people are, list them out. And then from a scale from 1 to 10, I want you to rank how much you can show up as your full self with them. That scale starting with 1 is going to be I never show up as myself, to 10 being I'm able to show up as my full self. The people that you can be your most authentic self with, those are the relationships I want you to examine first. In what areas of your life with that person can you show up most like yourself? So maybe with your best friend, you can show up 100% of yourself when it comes to specific hobbies that you both enjoy. Or maybe it's personal development that you both really connect on. With your parents, maybe it's really showing up and being honest about how you feel about your career, and you know they're not going to judge you. They're supportive of whatever decisions you make, and they're not going to sway you either way based on what they prefer. Really look at these relationships and the areas where you can be your most self, and then the areas that you cannot. Most of the time, you will have areas in every single relationship where you cannot show up as your full self. This is because certain things that we fear, like judgment or maybe abandonment, or maybe the fear of not feeling like we belong or that we might not have a genuine connection to someone. These are areas for us to work on as individuals, to say to ourselves, do we really want more depth, more substance in this relationship? And if it's a yes, then what work do I need to focus on in order to show up in this relationship more? So, for a personal example, years ago, I had a problem showing up in my relationship with my dad because I didn't want to climb the corporate ladder. And I knew that if I didn't do that, my dad would more than likely feel really disappointed. And I was scared to tell him because I didn't want to feel judged. I didn't want to lose that sense of belonging if I didn't move up the corporate ladder. So, in order to work through that fear, I had to examine my relationship with moving up the corporate ladder. What did that mean? As well as what was that going to take away from me? What was that actually going to give me? Because at the same time, everything is going to have both a positive and negative effect on us. And then I had to look at what were my fears around this? How rational were these fears? The disappointment could be real, but why was I accepting his reaction and his emotions as how I would view myself? That is a deeper question. So I decided to start doing the inner work. I asked myself, how was I going to communicate this with my dad? I had to figure out how I wanted to communicate it and practice doing so like a speech. One way of practicing this is, like I mentioned, saying it out loud to ourselves and even sometimes role playing with other people like a coach to help you work through those tough moments of the conversation. This way, you start to feel more confident in your answers. You know why you don't want to do something and why you do want to do something. You have a deeper sense of self, of saying, wow, this is really who I am. I don't want to do this. I want to do this instead. And by practicing, you can now respond instead of reacting to the conversation. Responding actually helps everyone in the room by communicating clearly without yelling or having different tones of voice. It communicates in a way that is compassionate, empathetic, while being open to what the other person is saying. So, in this example, when this conversation finally happened, I told my dad, I'm sorry, no, I don't want to move up the corporate ladder. I don't want to be a manager anymore. I don't want to be an executive. He was a little flustered at first and wanted to know why. And I said, I don't want to be working every single day of my life. I want to enjoy the life I have. And I don't want to constantly be working on the weekends when my job is Monday through Friday. I don't want to have to work late at night on a weekday just because they have access to me and just because I'm in a salaried position. I want to have a real life, and work is part of life. And to be honest, I don't believe in work-life balance. Having this conversation with my dad allowed us to start having deeper conversations that would bring us closer together. This is why when you show up as your authentic self, it can actually draw people closer to you and have more genuine connection in a relationship. So think of how that could affect your dating. Think how that would affect your relationship. If you are someone who is listening that has a partner, what are you afraid to talk to them about? What have you been wanting to discuss? And you've been putting it off for maybe like a few weeks, maybe months, or sadly, even a few years. A lot of the time in relationships, we are not showing up as our authentic selves, and we're not asking for what we need if we're not having these conversations. If we're not even practicing how to have these conversations, there will be a lot of passive aggressiveness. There will be a lot of bickering back and forth, remarks to each other. There may even be a lot of silence in the relationship because people are so tired of not being heard when deep down, what's really happening is that they're not even communicating what they want and need to the person that they love the most. And the person that they love the most is not a motherfucking mind reader, so they don't have a clue what is going on and they're taking it personally. This is why when you're in a relationship, it is very important to already be in touch with who you are and not pretending to be someone else, no matter the stage of your relationship. I know people that got married either right after high school or right after college, and now they're in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. And they say, I don't know why we're still together, or I don't know how we're still together. And that's because you evolve as different people based on your experiences. And if you don't talk about those experiences, whether that's a great day playing golf, or a shitty day at home with the kids, or a horrible day at work, if you do not talk about these things, even these little things, the communication becomes filled with static. And the static starts filling up in our lives. And it starts to look like one way to one person and another way to the other. And the next thing you know, the relationship is on autopilot and you're just in it. Not because you're in it to win it with the other person, and the relationship fizzles out. Most of the time when this happens, people are not doing the inner work. They are not doing the things that are needed for themselves to make the relationship better. And this is why I do what I do. That is why all of my past relationships were amazing lessons, not failures, including my ex-husband. They were lessons for me to realize where I wasn't showing up authentically and where I wasn't being my true self. Now I'm in a relationship where I understand my authentic self today is not who my authentic self is going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20, or even 30 years down the road. I have to consistently do the inner work to keep showing up as my best self as much as I possibly can. Because some days, it's 5%, and other days it's 50. And sometimes it's a 90-day I show up as my best self. All of that for me and for my relationship with my husband. And my husband knows this because we've had conversations about authenticity. Because we know what it's like to not be our true selves in relationships. We know what it's like to show up and just phone it in. To be there because we checked the box, like we got married, boom, we're done. No, we are not box checkers here. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're not one either. Hopefully after today, you know that every single day is an opportunity to do a little bit better than yesterday. And by showing up just a little bit better, it's going to allow you to show up and still show up for your new partner or your current partner. The more authentic you are, it makes space for the other person to be themselves and builds a deeper connection within that relationship. Okay, this might have been a little bit longer than I originally planned for the short summer series, but I hope that you can see how authenticity really plays or really does need to be there at the forefront of your inner work when you're wanting to find a partner and when you are in a relationship. And I'm not talking about connection. I am talking about the real relationship. Someone who understands that real relationships take work, but the most important relationship, first and foremost, is the one you have with yourself. All right, this is the first of the short summer series episodes running all the way through August. If you loved this episode, I would love it if you would go to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and review so you can enter to win one of those energy assessment readings like I had discussed earlier today. Remember, if you can, find the links in the show notes to submit podcast topics of future guests, to be coached on the podcast, as well as finding my website and my Instagram to stay connected. Okay, lady, thank you so much for listening, and I will chat with you again next week. Thank you for joining me on the Reinventing the Arena podcast. I'm your host, Molly Conley, a relationship coach devoted to helping women reinvent their love lives. Tap the subscribe button so you never miss out on an episode. You can always find me on Instagram at Reinventing the Arena or learn more from me on my website at reinventingthearena.com.